If you needed any more reason to dislike Hayase on a personal level, character level different, amazing for the To Your Eternity story, well, personality is a different story, and the fact that she came so close to taking advantage of our poor immortal boy, innocent as can be in many ways, and if it wasn't for the rescue squad coming in, he would have lost his virginity in a very unpleasant way. The fact that this girl goes so into it, like she's licking him almost head to toe, didn't even take the boy on a first date. She just went straight into it, and wow, apparently that stuff was in the preview of last week, or hinted at it. I didn't watch the preview of last week, but goddamn, that is something else. And there's a lot of interesting mechanics at play. I love the idea of Fushi, how he ended up not getting captured when they were dragging him off. He actually made a duplicate of his body that was lifeless as he went into like the mole rat to then wait for the moment to pull the blade on Hayase, and I was just thinking, cut her head off, take her out. Of course they won't. I'm convinced Hayase is going to be the longest living character next to Fushi, since he's pretty much immortal, right? Unless the knockers take all of his forms, and that's obviously a different story. But I'm totally expecting she's going to thrive on this island. I said it last week, I'll say it again. She's not going out anytime soon. She's on an island full of bloodthirsty murderers. There's no way she doesn't thrive on that island. However, the direction she took with that speech, I didn't see coming, because I thought she was just going to proclaim herself as leader, but instead, she put all of the worship on Fushi, saying, this is going to be the savior, this is the changing grace, this will be our salvation. I don't even want the leadership, I'll give it to Tonari. Tonari immediately gets a bullseye paint on her head, and she ends up getting a majority of the will of the people behind her. And I thought it was actually pretty brilliant. Dislike her on a personal level, but her character and how she navigates these impossible situations is pretty damn flawless, or close to it. And the obsession towards Fushi is sick. I mean, from her saying, I'm gifting you Perona's body, which she's firmly saying this is a gift, and it's so disturbing. I mean, it was pointed out last week, didn't even notice it myself. She was pregnant when she killed her, so there was an unborn baby in her stomach when she killed to give a gift to Fushi, and the obsession about this immortal. I'm totally expecting the reason she wanted to sleep with Fushi wasn't just for like a pleasure reason, probably was part of it, but it was probably because she wants an immortal baby. Like, that's probably her line of thinking, and so she can continue to have like that power passed down or something like that, on top of a very unhealthy love obsession for someone who wants nothing to do with her. I know some people were saying that they don't want Fushi to kill her because then Fushi would have her form, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think whether Fushi kills her or not, I think this character has impacted Fushi's life so much, even though in a very negative way, that Fushi's getting her form one way or another. Whether it happens sooner or later, hard to say, but I know people are like, he would never use that form, or I don't want him to use that form. I think given the combat ability of this form, I would like him to use it just because I think it would benefit him, especially when dealing with the knockers. But obviously that's a personal preference. I just want this character dead, and I know damn well she probably won't. Yeah, the episode where Tonari like kind of announces what she's going to do and how she's going to keep the Immortal's promise, I thought was very interesting because this was kind of a moment you never thought was going to happen, and then immediately as soon as it looked like it was going okay, they got knocked out. But the fact that they were taking all children, I think it was 7 and under, as well as who she handpicked from her own group, I love that the big bro got to go as well. It was something that felt like, even if it looks bad, at the very least, the Mortal's promise will still succeed. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with that ship. I imagine we'll get some confirmation before this anime wraps up with its first season. And by the looks of it, I mean, unless they end it next week, but I couldn't imagine that this arc ends at episode 18 unless there's like some form of like smaller arc or better stopping point for episode 20, because it almost feels like episode 20 will conclude whatever this arc is, and just, we originally probably thought it was just the tournament, but then in comes Hayase, the preview indicates knockers and some creatures we haven't seen before, so most likely this arc is just getting bigger before it wraps up around the episode 20 mark, and I'm very excited to see what they're gonna do. I think To Your Eternity is such a goddamn great show. I did see some people last week on Twitter complaining that the intro, the kind of like recaps that they give, are too long, in that it takes like 5 minutes to even start the episode. To them, I say it's not that big of an issue because typically an anime episode's like 20 to 21 minutes when you exclude the opening and ending. To Your Eternity runs an average of 25 minutes, so if 4 of those minutes are like an intro recap, you're still getting the same amount of content. It just looks kind of bad when you skip through it at first. And I always thought the recaps were kind of a welcome surprise into your eternity because the narrator and how he overlays what we just saw, I think it's a fun refresher without it just feeling like a copy and paste of what we've seen before. It's not like we're getting like shonen level recaps where it's half the episode and we only actually get 10 minutes of content, so I don't think it's an issue, but I did see some people complain about that, and I don't know if I've ever talked about it in the review, so I wanted to throw that here. But I have to say, I mean, the rescue, what I thought was death, I mean, that bird somehow survived. I really thought it was dead unless Fushi made another one. Maybe that's going to be part of the equation, but like, seriously, this show is not letting up, and it'll be interesting to see what Hayase and Fushi's relationship will look like by the time they part ways, because you know Fushi's not sticking there forever, but like, what are they going to do? Are they going to do a time skip? Are they just going to skip past like to the point where she dies and he can leave? Or is it going to be something else? It's really hard to say because this currently is in a very unpredictable moment. You could say, oh, the death flag is definitely targeted on Tonari. But I would say, look at Gugu. There was multiple points where that boy had a death flag on his head and he ended up surviving years past it. I mean, we could easily have a time skip and see Tonari well into her teenage years. It's very hard to say. And that's why it's always weird to me when people say To Your Eternity is predictable with who's going to die and when they're going to die, because there's literally been no point, in my opinion, that a character's death other than episode 1, and even then, if you didn't know what To Your Eternity was going to be, even episode 1's death was very unexpected. So when you really break it down, I mean, Purand, she's probably had multiple death flags, she's still going alive and well, and just all the different characters, right? I mean, just because a character eventually will die in Fushi's life, we don't know when or how. And that's why next we could come in, kill Tonari, or very well, we could get a time skip similar to Gugu, and she survives well into her teenage years. It's very hard to say. That's why I think it's not too fair to say, like, it's a predictable series when I would argue it's one of the least predictable ones. Just because you know everyone's going to die around Fushi, I mean, everyone dies. That's part of life. That's not really a predictable element. Predictable element would be that Tonari says, oh no, I'm going to live forever, and then a bullet comes to her head moments later. That's not how the show is. So it's going to be fun. I mean, I definitely think Tonari will probably be the reason Fushi escapes, at least that's my gut reaction. It's just a matter of where they take her character going forward, but I did like the moment where she said that she wanted Fushi to be a part of her life in that next chapter in her book, and it'll be fun to see and probably frightening to see where they're going to take it from here. I mean, To Your Eternity is one of this year's best. It's something that needs a season 2. And it's definitely going to be one of those shows that I sometimes say on the channel. I say, hey, if this doesn't get a season 2 in a year's time, I'm going to check out the source. 100% the same with To Your Eternity. I think this is a show that probably, if it does get confirmed for one, I wouldn't be shocked if it takes 2 or 3 years for it to actually come out. Because I'm pretty sure this first season was in production for quite a while, even ignoring the COVID delay that happened. I think this is a show that needs its time in the oven to really cook it to the right temperature, and it's going to be fun to see where the anime takes it and how they'll leave us off with season 1. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your theories, your speculations. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Since the next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.